They say hell is the place where the person you became meets the person you could have been. But that hell doesn't live in the afterlife. It lives in your regrets. It lives in your silence. It lives in every second you spend letting your mind run the show instead of commanding it. The battlefield is not out there, it's in here. The war is not against the world. It's between you and the voice that whispers, "Not yet. You can't. Who do you think you are?" That voice is not your enemy. But if you don't master it, it becomes your ruler. Every human being is handed a mind more powerful than all the technology in the world combined, but without direction, it becomes a machine of sabotage. It will distract you. It will manipulate your attention. It will replay pain like an endless film reel. It will tell you that safety matters more than greatness. That comfort matters more than calling. And if you don't step up, it will make you forget who you were before the world told you to play small. Napoleon Hill wrote, "You have absolute control over only one thing, your thoughts." Let that sink in. In a world full of chaos, uncertainty, and illusion, the one thing you have absolute command over is your mind. And yet, most people surrender it to fear before breakfast. The truth? You are either the master of your mind or the prisoner of it. There is no middle ground. The human mind is a loyal servant, but a dangerous master. And every minute you let it drift, it builds a throne in your soul and chains you to it. If you want to build an extraordinary life, you must first become a relentless gatekeeper of your thoughts. That means rejecting the poison of mediocrity. That means disciplining your focus like a samurai sharpens his blade daily with full presence and no room for hesitation. Think of Edison, the man who failed over 10,000 times to invent the light bulb. He wasn't driven by logic. Logic would have told him to stop. He was driven by vision, by faith, by a mind trained not to bend under the weight of failure. Think of Carnegie, a man who started in poverty and ended up commanding an empire of steel. Was it luck? Number. It was the conscious decision to dominate his internal world before he ever touched the external one. You see, mastery begins in silence. In the quiet hour before the world wakes up, when the doubt creeps in, when the fatigue begs you to sleep longer, when your mind offers 1,000 excuses to hit snooze, that's when the battle is won or lost. Discipline is forged in that darkness, and if you can command your mind in the shadows, no spotlight will ever blind you. But you must choose every day to train it, to guide it, to reprogram it like a machine being fed new commands. Because if you don't feed your mind with intention, the world will feed it distraction, and you cannot afford that. Not if you have a calling, not if there is fire in your chest, not if there's even one dream inside you that refuses to die quietly. Your thoughts shape your beliefs. Your beliefs shape your identity. Your identity shapes your destiny. That is the architecture of all transformation, and the blueprint is written by thought. If you believe you are weak, every opportunity will feel like a trap. If you believe you are late, every beginning will feel like failure. If you believe the world is unfair, you'll never see your own power to tilt the scale. But if you believe you are meant for more, if you believe that what's inside you is greater than what's behind you, if you believe that your thoughts are tools, not tyrants, then the world begins to open. That's why clarity is the first victory. Clarity is not just seeing the goal. It's burning the fog between you and it. It's cutting through noise, distraction, the endless opinions of the crowd. It's standing still while the world screams and hearing the voice within that says, "Go there, do that, become this." Vision is born in stillness, but it is sustained by commitment. And that commitment must be deeper than emotion. Because emotions lie, they fluctuate, they abandon you when the work gets hard. Conviction stays. Conviction is the iron spine that carries you through hell and back without flinching. Ask any great achiever, Disney, who was told he lacked imagination. Ford, who was mocked for believing every family could afford a car. Oprah, who was told she wasn't fit for television. They weren't driven by the applause. They were pulled forward by vision. And that vision was protected not by luck, not by talent, but by mastery of their inner world. Do not confuse clarity with ease. Clarity does not mean the path will be lit. It means you will walk anyway with bloodied feet, through storms of doubt, with every voice saying, turn back, and still you move forward. Because when your mind is mastered, doubt becomes fuel, fear becomes focus, and pain becomes prophecy. You learn to transmute every obstacle into evidence not of failure, but of your becoming. But how do you become this person? It begins with one choice: to stop negotiating with your lesser self, to stop giving your mind permission to dictate the terms of your life, to stand tall in the face of resistance and say, you don't run me, I run you. Because if you don't, someone else will. The media, the algorithms, the stories you inherited from people who settled. They will script your identity like a playwright scripts a tragedy. And you'll wake up one day with dreams buried beneath distractions and wonder, how did this become my life? No more. This is your line in the sand. This is where you rise, not because the world gave you permission, but because you finally gave it to yourself. This is the moment you stop being the passenger and seize the wheel. The moment you realize that every thought, every word, every belief is a brushstroke in the masterpiece of your life. And the only question is, who's holding the brush? Most people are not living, they are sleepwalking. They are not thinking, they are remembering. Running loops of old conversations, rejections, failures, wounds, letting yesterday write today. But when you master your mind, you begin to interrupt the pattern. You realize that the past is not a prison, it is a lesson. You realize that pain is not your identity, it is the fire that forges clarity. You look at fear, and you no longer tremble, you interrogate it. What are you here to teach me? Because a mastered mind doesn't run from fear. It stares it down, walks through it, and turns it into fuel. Understand this. Your mind is not broken, it is untrained. Like a wild horse, it kicks and bucks and pulls in every direction. But a wild horse is still powerful. And when it is trained, when it is reined in with vision, discipline, and unwavering intent, it becomes unstoppable. That's where discipline enters. Not the kind of discipline born from punishment or pressure, but the sacred kind, the kind that says, I show up because I must, not because I feel like it. The world worships motivation, but motivation is fleeting. Discipline is eternal. Discipline is the architect behind every victory. It is the silent contract you sign with yourself before the sun rises, the contract that says, no matter how I feel, I build. Lincoln lost 8 elections before becoming president. 8 moments that could have rewritten his story as a failure. But his discipline wasn't tied to outcome, it was tied to principle. And principle is immune to failure. So when the world tells you it's not working, when the people around you say, maybe you should quit, when your own mind whispers, it's too late, you're too tired, no one cares, you answer not with excuses, but with action. Because action is how you override fear. Action is how you shut down doubt. Action is how you turn thoughts into momentum and momentum into destiny. Every time you choose action over avoidance, you are casting a vote for the person you are becoming. Not the person others think you are. Not the version of you that was told to be small, obedient, realistic, but the version of you that stands in the fire, unshaken. And in that fire, something begins to change. You no longer chase purpose, you embody it. Because purpose is not found. It is chosen. It is created through conscious decision, through showing up when it's hard, through doing the right thing when no one is watching, through letting your values be louder than your emotions. Purpose doesn't knock, it waits for the courageous to build the door. And when you build that door, brick by brick, habit by habit, your life begins to shift. People sense it. They can't explain it, but they feel it. The way you walk, the way you speak, the way you breathe with conviction. Because you are no longer living by default, you are living by design. But let me be clear, there will be resistance. The mind doesn't give up control easily. It will bargain. It will tempt. It will disguise laziness as self-care and disguise doubt as wisdom. It will say, rest a little longer, when your soul is begging you to rise. That's why adaptability is your ally. To master your mind is not to rigidly control every variable, it is to respond like water. To flow, to adjust, to bend, but never break. When life changes, you don't freeze. You pivot, because you know that your power is not in the plan. Your power is in your response. Adaptability is why the eagle flies through storms when other birds seek shelter. It is why the bamboo bends in typhoons when oak trees snap. It is the quiet understanding that no obstacle can defeat the one who refuses to stop moving. And when you are adaptable, you stop fearing change. Because change is no longer a threat, it is a tool. You stop clinging to who you were and start expanding into who you could be. That is when resilience awakens. Not the surface-level kind that fakes a smile and pushes through pain blindly, but the deep-rooted, soul-born kind that knows this pain is a rite of passage, that nothing worth having comes without a season of fire. And that fire isn't here to destroy you. It's here to burn off everything that no longer serves the next version of you. When Ford's first car failed, he didn't retreat. He re-engineered. When Disney was fired for lacking imagination, he didn't shrink, he doubled down on his vision. When Colonel Sanders had his chicken recipe rejected over 1,000 times, he didn't collapse, he persevered. Because resilience is not about never falling. It is about rising so many times that failure gets tired of trying to stop you. But resilience without reflection becomes brute force. That's why learning is the sharpening stone of mastery. A mind that does not seek to grow is a mind destined to decay. A mind that believes it already knows is a mind that's already lost. You must become obsessed with your own evolution, not in competition with others, but in commitment to becoming a little sharper today than you were yesterday. Because life is not a marathon, it is a staircase. And every step is another version of you, wiser, braver, more aligned with purpose. So ask yourself daily, what did I learn? What did I miss? What lie did my mind tell me today that I refuse to believe? These questions are not weaknesses, they are weapons. Because a mind that questions itself becomes a mind that cannot be deceived. And finally, as you walk this path with your thoughts as your allies and your discipline as your armor, remember this: gratitude is the fuel that sustains the soul. Not the cliche version, not the just be happy slogans. Real gratitude. The kind that sees the storm and thanks it for the lesson. The kind that looks at pain and bows to its wisdom. The kind that wakes up every morning and says, I still get to try. I still get to become. I still get to rise. That kind of gratitude is power, because it removes entitlement. It removes blame. It brings you back to the truth. This life owes you nothing, and yet it has given you everything: a mind, a voice, a heartbeat, and a chance. So now, the question is not whether you're capable. You are. You always have been. The real question, the one that determines everything, is this: will you choose to lead your mind or be led by it? Because one path leads to freedom. The other leads to quiet despair. And make no mistake, the pain of self-betrayal is far greater than the pain of discipline. Every time you let fear dictate your next step, every time you let doubt write your story, you are voting against yourself. But every moment you rise, even when trembling, even when uncertain, you are reclaiming territory from the war zone within. You are proving to the child inside you that dreams were never foolish, that the flame never died, that your soul is still awake. Your mind is not the enemy, it is the forge. It's where your courage is melted, your clarity is hammered, and your greatness is shaped into form. But only if you dare to take the hammer in your hand. Remember this: the mind doesn't give you what's true, it gives you what's familiar. It recycles thoughts, patterns, identities that no longer serve who you are becoming. And your job, your sacred duty, is to disrupt that loop, to awaken in the middle of autopilot and say, no more. No more letting fear drive. No more letting the world script my worth. No more editing my brilliance to make others comfortable. No more pretending I don't care when I do. No more living small to survive when I was built to lead. Because you were. You were built to lead not nations, not empires, but your own inner world. And that is the greatest leadership there is. There's a reason Hill didn't call his book Watch and Grow Rich. He called it Think and Grow Rich. Because wealth in all its forms begins with thought. And if you do not govern your thoughts, they will govern your reality. And you will wake up living someone else's idea of success, wondering where the years went, wondering why the fire died. Don't let that be your story. Let your story be one of rebellion against the noise, the fear, the apathy. Let it be one of quiet revolution, not in the streets, but in your soul. A revolution that says, I am not a victim of circumstance. I am not defined by my wounds. I am not here to survive. I am here to build, rise, create, lead. Your mind is the control tower. Your beliefs are the compass. Your habits are the bricks. And your destiny is waiting not in some distant future, but in the thoughts you think today. So if you want to change your life, don't look outward. Don't beg the world to shift. Stand still. Close your eyes. And begin where all transformation begins, inside. It won't be easy. There will be days the weight feels unbearable. Days when the old thoughts come flooding back, whispering lies in the dark. But you will stand. Not because you're fearless, but because you've trained for this. Because you've made your mind your home, not your prison. And on those days when the battle rages loudest, you will smile. Because you'll know the war was never outside. It was always here. And you finally have become its master. So rise. Not with arrogance, but with authority. Not with ego, but with intention. And not someday, not when you're ready, not when it's perfect, but now. Because now is all you have. And this moment right here is the fork in the road. Down one path is comfort, fear, delay, and the death of potential. Down the other is fire, grit, glory, and the man or woman you were always meant to be. So choose. Lead. Master your mind, or be ruled by it.